At 12 o'clock, in number 3, Ohio State is 2-3. Showing to Purdue, who's 2-4. Ohio State is not 2-3. I don't know why I wrote that down. That's not correct. Ohio State is 5-0. Yeah, they're 5-0. Yeah, they've had a bye. They're 5-0. I don't know why I wrote down 2-3. Purdue's 2-4 though. Ohio State favored by 19 on Peacock. Colin McCord has gone 93 of 142, thrown for 1,375 gains, 8 touchdowns to 1 interception. Trevion Henderson has had 44 carries for 295 yards and 5 touchdowns. Marvin Harrison Jr. has had 25 catches for 494 yards and 4 touchdowns. Hudson Card has gone 136 of 214 from the Purdue Boilermakers, thrown for 1,491 yards, 6 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Devin Maccabees had 87 carries for 368 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Deion Burks has had 24 catches for 396 yards and 4 touchdowns. Ohio State's 40-15 all-time against Purdue. Last game went to Ohio State in 2021, but I think a lot of people remember what happened in the game before that. Ohio State's 3-1 last 4 home games against this team. Okay, last 4 home games, the home team has gone 3-1, I think. That's how I read my statistic. It's been a while since I wrote it down. I think a lot of people remember what last time Ohio State went to Purdue, right? That was crazy upset. It keeps Ohio State out of the playoffs that year. And not only an upset, the Purdue Boilermakers beat them down, and they earned the nickname the Spoilermakers in large part because of that upset. Can Purdue do it again? I mean, it's at Purdue. You can't take Purdue lightly. You can never take Purdue lightly. And that's a struggle Ohio State's going to face because they play Penn State next week. That's the toughest game of their year so far. That is going to be the game of the week next week, is whoever wins that game is going to be at least a favorite to have a shot at making the playoffs, right? Because outside of Maryland, there's not a lot left on that schedule for Penn State to be all that worried about outside of, obviously, Michigan. But even if you don't beat Michigan, you're still a one-loss team that has a win over Ohio State. There are not a lot of other teams outside of Maryland that can beat you. Same thing for Ohio State. Again, even if you don't beat Michigan, you can make the playoffs like you did last year. Is it going to be harder this year? Arguably, because last year the ACC and the Pac-12 imploded upon themselves, and that's how you made the playoffs. But it's possible it happens this year to a couple conferences. The Pac-12 obviously eats each other every year. The ACC doesn't have any of that esteem, but again, a one-loss ACC champ's going to go, one-loss Big 12 champ's going to go. You got to hope for some implosions in the Big 12 and the ACC, but you definitely have a path still to the playoffs if you're Ohio State or Penn State if you win the next game. But that's an important game. Ohio State can't afford to look past Purdue. Purdue arguably should have won last week. They were outplayed on one play. Again, Iowa did nothing on offense almost the entire game outside of one long run, and unfortunately for Purdue, that was the determining factor in that game. Purdue's still a decent football team. They're not a great football team, but they're not the worst football team I've ever seen. They're definitely not going to compete on that side, but bowl game's not entirely out of possibility, although starting 2-5 is going to make it hard. I still like Ohio State here. I understand there's a look-ahead game. There's also a slump after the Maryland game aspect to look at here. Purdue's Purdue. There's a lot of aspects to look at, but I still like Ohio State to go on the road and not only beat Purdue, but beat them handily, beat them by more than 19 points.